for professional Great Blocks Project Phase 1. Mr. Berry.
Mayor and Commission, in your packet you have a service authorization or a task order from Engineering Analytics in regard to the Great Blocks Project. So you'll remember that the Great Blocks Project is an initiative that includes a partnership between the City of Raton, Raton Main Street, and New Mexico Main Street. And you see some drawings on the table there that show generally what is proposed for construction. So the thought is that, and this is a New Mexico Main Street design, is that you would reconstruct a couple of blocks in a historic district. And Raton, by the way, is the first community in New Mexico to be designated for the Great Blocks Project, and really try to have an impactful construction, a momentum type of a project with constructing those two blocks. So if you look at a lot of cities, you may have a downtown area, well, let's take Albuquerque for example, which would extend for dozens of blocks, but they're really targeting a limited small area. And so that's what you see here is the area between Rio Grande to Park Avenue, and that includes Cook Avenue of First Street would be reconstructed. Now, we've performed part of that reconstruction. We've done pavement improvements. So what's included in the construction would largely consist of drainage improvements, traffic calming designs such as bump outs of the curb in the intersections. It would include a 30-degree angled parking. There would be streetscaping involved. There would be construction of sidewalk involved. And you would see some features such as colored concrete pavement or brick paver pavement, special treatments there. Also, some special treatment in the sidewalk that would illuminate business entrances. So this is a design that was paid for by New Mexico Main Street, and they got us to a 100% ready to go to bid set of plans and specs. And they also provided us with a construction estimate, and it is in excess of $1 million. So we've looked for funding for the project, and where we're sitting right now on that is we have actually two grants from New Mexico Main Street. They came from their capital outlay in the amount of $320,000. And those two grant agreements, which have come to the commission and been approved previously, would require a $90,000 local match. That would bring the available funding now to $410,000. So we've looked for that balance to build the full project. But I would tell the commission that, well, we expect to find the funds to do that. I would tell you that it may be another year or 2 years until we get the funding agreement in place and then go through the environmental assessment and we're ready to go to construction. So that's a long time for this capital improvement money to sit there, and I would recommend to the commission tonight your consideration to go forward with phase 1 of the project, and it would be the $410,000, and that would include all the costs, construction and professional services. So you have I have asked for the task order from the design team. Now, in the original design, MRWM was the consultant, and if I got a little closer I could tell you what that stands for, but they were the lead consultant, and Engineering Analytics was a sub-consultant for the civil services. For this, the purposes of this, all the parties have agreed that Engineering Analytics would be the lead consultant, and MRWM would be a sub-consultant to that. So that's included in your task order, and this would be to repackage the bid documents and put that out to bid, the amount that you see listed there. So I would have to search for that, but it is our recommendation that we would move forward into phase 1 and approve the task order from Engineering Analytics tonight and try to get this out to bid and into construction this summer.
That's in the amount of $21,100.
That is it, Commissioner. I was still searching, but that's it. I would tell you that that excludes construction phase services, and that's typically on an hourly basis, and we try to inspect the work at those important times when it needs inspected. We probably would not have an inspector sitting there all day, but at times that we're pouring concrete, we're testing soil, we're doing those important activities, we would have an inspector or a materials tester on site. That would be in addition to the cost that you see here.
Okay. And I see Karen is here with Engineering Analytics, if there's any questions. Any questions for either Mr. Berry or Ms. Stearns?
So it'd be 21,100 plus the gross receipts tax. Just so that that's-
I'm definitely pleased to see this moving forward, as I know that's been one of Brenda's concerns, is that money sits there too long and they start to think, well, maybe we should take it back. We haven't done it. So I'm very pleased.
Yeah. Any other comments?
Motion to approve engineering analytics task order professional services, Great Lakes Grants Project.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the task order for professional services for the Great Blocks Project Phase 1 by Engineering Analytics. Any other further discussion? Mike Lang, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Giacomo?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schuster?
Yes.
Commissioner Chatterley?
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez?
Yes.
Mayor Sagata?
Yes, approved. Thank you. Item B, deliberate and act on Resolution 2018-32, scope of work modification for NMDOT Cooperative Grants SP 417-958 and SP 418-908. Mr. Berry?
Mayor and Commission, on these two cooperative grant agreements between the City of Raton and New Mexico Department of Transportation, we have taken some time to develop a plan really revolving around that Great Blocks project. And there was a thought that we would be able to pull the entire construction costs together, possibly use one or both of the co-op agreements to construct the Great Blocks project, in addition to another source of funding such as TAP, co-op, or EDA, but those are pretty slow in developing. So my recommendation to you tonight, and I've given you a memo on really the 2018 street improvement program, and this is an important part, would be to accomplish some street resurfacing that we've talked about before with both of these co-op agreements. So what we've talked about before is the chip seal resurfacing of Galisteo Avenue and Apache Avenue, two streets that have a original town site, really in poor condition, have a lot of importance to us for a variety of reasons. And so that's my recommendation to the commission. I've included a map. And additionally, I would report to the commission that I've talked to Raton Public Schools. Raton Public Schools is also eligible for cooperative agreement funding, and they have a co-op also in hand. And like us, it would expire at the end of the year. So we offered to perform the work in the area of the intermediate school if they would designate that cooperative agreement to the project, and the superintendent told me that they would. I would believe that it would require some board action on their part, and we'll follow up with them for their next board meeting. But you see the scope of the work that is proposed under the available money. So we would really have three grant agreements involved in that, and the total project cost would be approximately $110,000. If everyone approves that recommendation, we would anticipate that the work may start in June We're on the schedule to do that work in about 3 weeks. And the thing we'd have to talk about is when it falls in the middle of a fiscal year like that, what does that do to our treasurer? And so we may try to put that off till after July 1st, but right now we're looking at a late June start.
Questions or comments for Mr. Berry?
Do you know, did the superintendent give you a timeline of, I mean, I know he gave you a pretty strong handshake, but.
Yeah, I think that they would have to probably execute a resolution similar to what you're doing and call for a board meeting, and it could be a special board meeting like this tonight. And so I'll have to follow up with him on that, and I don't know his schedule, but given that we have 3 weeks or greater, I think that probably would fall within a scheduled board meeting.
Yeah, that's good.
It's nice to see Apache on there. Is there a part of the regular work plan that kind of improves that gravel area up by the city of Bethlehem?
Actually, Commissioner, it was our plan to surface that piece up to the gate of City of Bethlehem under this project, right?
Cool.
Okay. I'll move to approve resolution 2018-32, scope of work modification for NMDOT cooperative grants SP 4-17-958 and SP 4-18908.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 2018-32. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. Michael, could we do a roll call on this as well, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Schuster,
Yes.
Commissioner Chatterley,
Yes.
Commissioner Giacomo,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Mayor Sagata.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, item C, deliberate and act on city manager fiscal year 19 pay increase. As you all know, we met the other night to evaluate Mr. Berry. It's something that had been long overdue. We had not performed a national evaluation on him, and we discussed increasing his salary and bringing it more in line with what we felt he deserved and with what other managers in the area that were receiving. As you recall, Mr. Berry, when he took this position, he took it with no contract, took it for the amount that we were paying the then city manager, and pretty much it was a handshake deal. And in my opinion, Mr. Berry's done everything that we've asked of him. He has, in fact, exceeded in some areas, and with the discussion with you all, I'd open it up now. We did come to a kind of a, it's not decision, I don't know how am I going to word this. We did come to a decision. We talked about increasing it up to a 9% increase. But if you factor in all the city increases, and that it's actually about a 7% increase with the 2% that the city was getting already this year.
Correct.
So I would open the floor up for more discussion.
I think the discussion you were looking for is in our closed session discussion, we all made similar statements
Yes.
that we appreciate
That's what I was trying to get to.
the hard work that Mr. Berry has put in, and each one of us individually expressed the desire to
Yes.
Thank you.
reward him for that hard work. We'd
Thank you.
certainly hate to lose you off to some other metropolis, you know. Gotham City needs you.
We got a lot going on.
I think at this time we make a motion to approve the 9% increase for Mr. Berry. So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the pay increase for Mr. Berry. Is there, I've lost my place again. I don't want to mess it up again. Is there any other discussion?
What does that bring his pay to?
That's a good question. I'm not good in math.
That's okay, I have it.
Yeah.
So, it'll be 101,573.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other further discussion?
Appreciate what you've done.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Absolutely. Seeing no discussion, we will take a roll call vote. Ms. Antonucci?
Commissioner Chavez?
Yes.
Commissioner Giacomo?
Yes.
Commissioner Chatterley?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schuster?
Yes.
And Mayor Sagata.
Yes. And that's a job well done, Scott. I know talking about this kind of stuff it's kind of difficult at times, but we appreciate everything you've done. And you haven't asked for, I would like to state that Scott has never talked to us about salary increase at all in the 4 years, almost 4 years he's been on the job. And we appreciate everything he's done.
Mayor, thank you. I appreciate working for the commission as well. I think we have a good team, both on the commission and as far as city staff, and I think we're in line to accomplish some things. It's always difficult. It seems like there's always some bad news. It seems like we have to fight some battles, but I do look for some good things to happen in the coming years. I'm happy to be a part of that, and I thank you for your comments.
Thank you. All right, item G, deliberate and act on resolution 2018-33, adoption of amended fiscal year 19 City of Raton interim budget. Mr. Berry, Ms. Antonucci, either one. Toss up.
Well, Mayor Commission, at the last meeting, we did go through kind of the itemized list of the changes, and so I've incorporated those changes that were approved, including the awarded funding for the museum, arts and humanities, all of the action that was taken at the last meeting, and then just some of those other corrections that I had itemized out for you. So I've incorporated all of that into this final budget. I think the only thing that I did not do, and I guess I would need some clarification from the commission on the discussion item that we had on economic development, the revolving loan fund. I did not do anything with that fund. I mean, the monies are there, but I didn't budget the full amount available as an expenditure. And so I just thought of that before the meeting, but is that something that a correction I need to make, or is that something we're going to have further discussion and action on?
Mayor, if I could comment, I think that, what I remember from the discussion is the commission had, I think the general discussion was the funds were intended for a goal of economic development in Raton, and they really have sat there and haven't been applied to that in past years. And I think we talked about mechanism to use those. And I think in response to that, I think that there probably are a lot of avenues. And I know Mr. Jenkins has addressed the commission a couple of times about an economic development plan. And I would suggest to the commission that we entertain some proposals and see what ideas that we do get out there. And, we may find out that we make a couple of different awards or try to cover a couple of things that go in different directions. But I would suggest that possibly we ask for proposals as we get closer to the budget and see what kind of ideas that would generate.
So I think I was seeing it as more of an ongoing process, and that there would be proposals, and then once something was decided, we would do a budget adjustment at that time. So I just, didn't want there to be any confusion or if anybody thought that that was something that I was gonna put in there, I just wasn't sure. But I agree with Scott. I think we would have a process in place and then an official award would be made. And then we could do a budget adjustment at that time. But the funds are there and they're in this Fund 218 is what we call the revolving loan fund. So,
And that's not gonna cause any problems with the audit, as long as we make the adjustments at that time, correct?
correct. I mean, we could insert into the, and I'm not sure, I haven't looked at that budget. We may have to create some new line items since that budget hasn't been used in so many years. Let me just look at it real quick. So really, there's not too many line items within that budget. So when we do the budget adjustment, we would probably create a specific line item for whatever the monies are being awarded for.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we have legal fees and some loan recovery expense, but that all kind of goes back to the litigation with one of the
Previous.
businesses
Right.
that had received funds.
The long history of this fund, and so, yeah, I think
Well, I think it's unnecessary to just sit there idle all this
Right.
time, and we can be putting it to good use for
Yeah.
our economic development.
So it's certainly something that by the time we get to the final budget, I mean, we may have progressed a little bit further with those discussions. And I'll just kind of keep it on my radar for the final budget. And then if we don't tend to it by the final budget, then it would have to be a budget adjustment at that point. So I think that was the only other item that we discussed last week that I did not
Right.
make any change to the budget.
so I'd suggest that we start, with your direction, we start working on a request for proposals, and then we'll have to decide on the mechanism there. I know that in a previous RFP, the Financial Advisory Committee kind of helped with some ranking and rating on that. We'll have to talk about how you want to proceed with that, but that would be a suggestion I would offer.
That sounds like a good plan. I think anything we can use to kind of jumpstart our economic development is a good thing, so.
Yeah.
Is there any other? So I guess our direction to Michael Ann is leave it like we have it and we'll go with the RFP and,
That was my understanding.
yeah, and work it out that way.
So, the budget, it is considered a balanced budget because our revenues do equal our expenditures, but the amount that our expenditures exceed revenue is by the items that we agreed to take out of the reserve. And
Right.
so that was for the grant management software, the new ambulance, and the city manager vehicle. And then we do have, I did make a note there, I'm just looking at this comparison sheet, that we have the additional transfers out of the reserve for the school resource officer grant match, our airport matching funds, and that's for the hangar and for the taxiway A. And then we also have a transfer out for the aquatic center operations. So I'll put all of that in a letter to DFA just to explain to them exactly what we've budgeted to come out of our reserve balance.
So what you have, Commissioners, is a general fund budget of about $4.6 million. And as we've talked about before, we had forecast to be flat as far as gross receipts tax, which is one of the biggest components of our revenue side. And that really is based on the unknown with Kmart closing, I think, is the most current thing. And, we see some businesses coming in. Undoubtedly, we'll have businesses that leave as well. And we have a lot of discussion of potential new businesses. And sometimes that doesn't happen, or sometimes it takes years for that to develop. That's what we've included in here is flat revenues as far as GRT. And really based on that. But I would just let you all know that we're slightly ahead of our projections from the current fiscal year as far as revenues. And then all city staff have really done a good job as far as holding the line on expenses. Part of that is because we have some job openings we have not been able to fill, specifically in critical services like police. Those are jobs that we would fill if we have the opportunity. But we have generally operated short 1, 2, or 3 positions in police, and that we're kind of standard for where we've been over the last couple of years. But department heads in general have done a good job of managing the expense side, and I think they're good at that. We'll do that again into the upcoming year.
Are there any other comments, questions?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2018-33 adoption of amended FY19 city of Raton interim budget.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2018-33, the adoption of the amended fiscal year 19 City of Raton interim budget. Is there any further discussion? Dr. Glenn, could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Giacomo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schuster,
Yes.
Commissioner Chatterley,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes?
Mayor Sagata.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Is there any other business? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.